future reference up by registration. If you go down the front hallway, it's right there in the front corner. But you can go here this way, cut up to the hallway.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Right front corner.
Thank you for being a part of this show, and thank you for not being the last panelist up to the stage.
Yes, man. Sorry.
When Warwick gets here, give him hell. Every comic started out as an indie comic. That's the incredible thing about it. And these guys are holding the flame.
Taken us 2 years. So I mean, even if when we go to some of the bigger publishers, they're like, oh, we like this story, we're interested in it. When is the next issue coming out? Well, it's coming out in 6 months. We're like, well, that's not how the reader's gonna expect it to come out next month. So I think that's more what that advice was. We just didn't know. But never mind.
My thing was, I didn't really get a gist of how to actually put down a page, you know, how to actually break down a page for real until just running through this whole thing. And now I'm like, okay, I have an iPad now. I can do this. I can break this down. I can throw it down and I can get it out the door because, I mean, it used to be, okay, 11 by 17. Draw this, ink that, blah, blah, and scan it in. It sucked. But, you know, when you get the rhythm and everything, because I was worried, like, I was like, man, this doesn't look like this doesn't look like that. But when I started getting the rhythm of it, I was seeing, okay, this can develop. I can see how this can grow. I can see how the storytelling can get better. And I've been working with this cat. He gave me the opportunity, so that's what we've been doing.
So I got a book called Hood Rats in Space. Pretty dope book. I like it. Whatever.
Bird up.
It is dope.
I like it. So, what's the panel about?
It's about hood rats, man.
It's about being, you know, small publisher.
Okay, because I don't want to go all over the place. But anyway,
You've been at this for a minute, so
my story is kind of unique. Like, of course, I did try to do the Marvel DC thing for years, and if anybody's trying to do that,
don't do that.
good luck. But came to a realization that I couldn't fit the style of Marvel and DC. I struggled with that forever. So if you're an aspiring artist, if you get into that situation, I recommend you kind of think about what you're really doing because you're really trying to emulate someone else's style. Marvel has a house style, DC pretty much does too. Took me 10 years to learn that, you know, crying and no, they rejected my stuff, you know, and then they were like, because I was like slaving to draw like whoever the hottest artist was at the time. So after that rejection for so many years, there he is.
What's up, guys?
Oh, it's you.
Sorry I'm late.
I realized one day that I had the knack for creating stuff out of my own head, and so I took a chance of doing that. Did the Kickstarter, it was successful. The cool thing about self-publishing for me was that I was able to find my own style, find my own footing, find out what I do best, and you know, like my good friend Jaime Mendoza, artist for one of the big boys, told me, you know, do everything and then break it. Try everything and then break it. So you can ink with a nib, ink with a brush. You can pencil with this pencil, do this, do that. Try these boards, try this tablet, try everything, and then break it. And that's your style. People try to do it backwards where they come in like, I can't draw that, so I don't. Yeah. So that's my style. That's not true. That's not how it's supposed to work. You try it, so if someone asks you, well, why don't you draw 4 fingers? You know, you say, because I can't, so I can draw 3. And that's just my thing. And now he's the hottest artist with 3 fingers on every picture, you know, because it's just, you realize that's what I'm good at. So self-publishing for me has been like the best thing I ever did in my life, honestly.
Would you suggest to start with self-publishing?
Yes, tremendously. And I'll tell you the best way to do it. I just had this crazy idea one day. Why are you trying to draw a 22-page story to begin with? Why don't you draw a 4-page story? That's what I started doing. You'll be, because I'll tell you the struggle is completion. Like he was saying, drawing 11 by 17 boards, you could spend 10 years trying to draw a page. Mm-hmm. You struggle because someone's telling you your perspective is off, your anatomy's off, this is off, this is off. So you struggle for years just trying to draw 1 page, right? So then you gotta go, oh my God, I ain't gonna never draw 22 pages. But one day you realize, like, I don't have to be that good. I can just draw 4 pages. Guess what happens if you do a 4-page story? You get completion. And that's what we're all as humans looking for is completion. We gotta have somebody that completes us. My life has to be completed somehow. So if you wrote a 4-page story, drew page 1, 2, 3, and 4, guess what? You're done. You actually did a story.
And then you can do another 4-page
Another
story.
4 pages.
And then you keep doing 4-page stories, all of a sudden you realize, oh snap.
I did 22 pages, 20 pages. They're all 4 different stories, 4 increments, but over time, you build up your skills.
Yep.
And it becomes repetition. And that was the best way for me because I was getting bruised by my friends. We're all artists, right?
Yeah.
So we would go out and drink. We would go out and drink and we would just crucify each other's art.
That's exactly how it
I
goes.
had to walk away from that. It was one of those things where I said, that's it. Because I ain't getting better. I'm just getting abused here and I'm feeling bad. You know, it's like your hands suck, man. Those eyes suck. Look how far apart those eyes are. You know, you're just sitting there getting like, okay, man, you know, it's like, and then we all sit there and say, what you working on, what you working on? And it just got too much. So I went on and did my own thing, talked to every artist I ever ran into. This guy, anybody, and asked them questions. That would be your best bet if you want to, you know, you get critique, you go to a table and say, will you look at my stuff? Can you abuse me? You know, per se, but at the same time, it's helping you. But the best help you can do is ask questions.
Yes.
Get on their nerves. What kind of pencil is that? Oh my God, he's asking about my pencil. What kind of eraser is that? I remember Michael Turner. He taught me the drop lead pencil. Rest his soul. Walked up to him. He goes, "Oh no, man, you got to have one of these." And he actually took out the time to pull the lead out to show me. As a young artist, I'm sorry. Yes, Michael Turner.
Which made him happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He was that cool. But had I not asked that question, I would have never known that, and I'd have spent another 5 years trying to find that one secret. You gotta find the goal. I got a book coming out that I'm writing about the industry per se, but I call it The Goal. Find out where's the goal and what they're nuggets of gold. And you get them from these guys. They can tell you things that will save. This guy right here can save you 10 years on your career by one question.
We can?
Yes.
Can now.
I tell you can now. I
Yeah.
tell people all the time they're like struggling to draw on 8.5 by 11. 8 by 10 paper, and you go, nah, that's not the paper.
Here's one thing that was interesting for me because I was drawing at all this big, trying to draw this big 8-page whatever. One day I realized, wait a minute, I got a scanner, and I can draw quicker if I draw little spots. You know, if I ink it out. All right, I'm gonna draw this, and that's panel 1. I'm gonna draw this is panel 2. Then I scan them, and then I build them together in, you know, Photoshop. And for some reason, that was a lot faster for me than it was just sitting there trying to break down the whole page, you know. And now, the thing is, when I started getting, like I got Procreate, and I started messing on my iPad, and it was a trip because it was like, it has like a whole list of tools. And it was a trip because I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. You can break down a whole page without having to worry about going to the store to get Bristol board 11 by 17, make sure your ink is right, you know. And it was just a lot quicker to me, and it was fun. And I realized putting down a page over time, I was doing it a lot faster, and I wasn't scared of it. That was one thing.
And I'll give you a flip on that. I still draw on boards, 11 by 17, because I tried to go digital, and it sucked for me because I was like used to drawing on boards. I don't know if you've ever had that.
Well, what's funny is I'm like halfway in between you two.
That's
so,
awesome.
so I like digital for pencils because you can fix stuff really quick. You're like, I do a lot of commercial
Yep.
work. They want quick turnarounds on stuff.
Right.
But then when I'm done, I print it out on a board and I ink it
Yeah.
with like brushes and nibs because I love the feel of real ink. I love having original art in my board. So I do both.
I think Brooks does
Find
that now.
find what works for you.
Yeah, whatever's quickest and easiest and gives you the best outcome. Like don't worry about everything else. Like size is an issue too. Like I'm a lot faster if I work 9 by 12 instead of 11 by 17. It's half the work. And honestly, it looks better when you put it on the web too because you're not scaling it down so small.
Right. See, I just learned something. Never stop learning.
Yep. You don't need all that rendering. It's gonna go on the web. It's gonna get crunched.
Now that's something I definitely cut back on. When I started self-publishing, that's the cool thing I learned as well. You can cut back when you self-publish. You don't have to do I
No
mean, it's
one,
up
no
to
one
you.
will fault you for cutting back if you're
Exactly.
doing it all yourself too. So don't worry about that.
Because you're compensating by doing so much other things. Like, you know, you don't have to draw every detail because you're coloring it yourself.
Yes.
You're inking it yourself. You're writing it yourself. If you're doing all that, people will cut you slack because you didn't put scratch lines on every piece, you know, every hairline.
Your
isn't
New York
perfect.
skyline isn't photo accurate.
Right, right.
So
And your perspective can be off when you did 30 pages of a book. You know what I mean? It's not as, you know, Marvel and DC, you know, I don't know what their standards are. Well, they stay with the same thing. But self-publishing, like I said, has been the greatest thing I've ever done.